Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Ignition Zone is a channel that focuses on BIONICLE content and sometimes other LEGO content as well. I showcase a lot of my mocks, other community members through my podcast, and videos of other genres as well. If those type of things interest you, please feel free to subscribe. And if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like. And if you didn't enjoy it, please leave a dislike, as engagement really helps out the channel. I would like to get to 400 subscribers by the end of February, so let's try to see if that's possible. BIONICLE G2 is often looked back on as a stain on the BIONICLE brand. It had record low sales, and while the first half of 2015 was considered the best part of the theme, things got a bit strange with the waves to come. The original wave looked a lot more like beefed up Hero Factory and bringing back some really nice functions from G1, such as knocking off the masks or the gear function. There were many reasons as to why BIONICLE G2 failed, but most people label the marketing as the prime suspect of ending the brand. The theme was supposed to last for 3 years. BIONICLE Generation 1 had the same deal, but sales justified keeping it longer, lasting almost a full decade. But Generation 2 underperformed so bad that it didn't even reach the 3rd year. Today we'll be discussing something I'm surprised hasn't really been gone over, nor has gotten around very much, and that's regarding the Magna Leak. For those that don't know what the Magna Leak is, the Magna Leak is what is referred to as the files that Duckbricks leaked back in late 2024. These files were on a hard drive owned by Christian Faber, co-creator of BIONICLE. In this hard drive, there are plenty of prototype images, story documents, and even sales data, along with marketing tactics. I'm not going over everything from the leak. I'm only going over the things that are related to this video, and I'm definitely not going to be showing anything or sharing any files, as that type of thing could get your whole channel taken down. But you could most likely find them for yourself in community servers. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to say, this is all purely my speculation. None of this has been confirmed by any sources, but given the data that is within the leak, that was all owned by LEGO and Christian Faber, I am highly inclined to believe that this is true enough to make a video on it. And I'm sure if you went out and saw them for yourself, which I highly suggest you do, you'll most likely come to similar conclusions to what I have. Within this hard drive, there is a folder that sticks out from the bunch. All the other ones are BIONICLE G1, G2, and even Hero Factory related. But this one is a bit more ambiguous. And that being a folder labeled Egypt. And if you look in this folder, there are a lot of construction sets that look quite familiar. As you can guess, the setting is in ancient Egypt. The general story is the bad guys rising from the grave for heroes to fight. And these heroes would be released with a creature companion, most likely sold separately. A lot of these enemies rising from the grave revolve around warriors and creatures such as scorpions. What I personally think happened here is that this is going to be the replacement for Chima, as the theme was cancelled shortly before BIONICLE's return. But I think in order to save on marketing costs of bringing in a brand new fresh IP, this was quickly shelved and incorporated into BIONICLE, and this is essentially what became 2016 and late 2015. Not to mention that with bringing back BIONICLE, it would also give them the opportunity to cancel Hero Factory, putting more focus on BIONICLE itself. For those wondering, the prototypes look almost exactly the same as what we got, aside from some newer molds. For the hero character, he looks a lot like Onua 2016 with more gold and blue instead of purple. And Kulta, otherwise known as Skull Grinder, is the bad guy here, as well as with some new Egyptian molds, and a lot more pieces, really emphasizing the skeleton factor of the set. I assume that when they decided to make this change that they were just going to shelve the ideas and rework them a lot more. Because if it was their plan to just slap the BIONICLE name on these, then why wasn't this just the 2015 wave from the get-go? This is a lot more speculation on my end, but judging from what we got, but I believe once they decided to make this BIONICLE, they wanted to play it safe in the beginning. You have to remember, they played it safe so much that they took away the terminology such as Matoran or Kanohi, only referring to the villagers as, well, villagers. And the Kanohi masks is simply masks. So with the first wave, they made them a lot more in line with what people were used to before leaning into these scrap concepts, resulting in 2015 looking a lot more like beefed up Hero Factory versus looking more in the lines of Chima. But it seems that in specifically 2016 and even the last half of 2015, they just gave up on making G2 its own thing, and they just used these scrapped ideas and concepts to fall back on. I'm not sharing any of these prototype images on this video because I don't need a sleeper agent from LEGO to take down the channel, but I think these are important to help realize how little effort was actually put into G2. A lot of people, nowadays at least, defend it for seemingly no reason other than bias, most likely due to nostalgia. It is weird to think that 2015 was 10 years ago. It feels a lot more like 5. If you like everything that G2 did, then more power to you, but you also shouldn't be overly surprised as to why it underperformed. This just kind of reinforces my views of BIONICLE G2 and how that opportunity was just a waste. I'm not entirely sure why corporations come to the idea that people just don't care about lists when they're the ones that are not caring to begin with. There were many factors as to why BIONICLE G1 was a success at the time, and I've actually gone over it a lot of times over on the channel, so I'm not going to repeat stuff that people are probably tired of hearing. But if I can boil it down to the basic things that really helped it succeed, these are things you cannot deny about it. There's a lot of thought, there's a lot of effort and care that was put into it. This theory I'm running with also makes me question that art book they released a while ago, which I don't think they actually sold any physical copies of besides giving it away in a giveaway. But all the concept art is out online. It wasn't leaked or anything, it was officially released. And within this book, they had a lot of random depictions of the characters that have almost no relation to the final product's design. And many of the alternate looks are nowhere to be found on this drive. I suppose a lot of the art was just done to help determine the mood or the vibe that they were going for, but this also drives home the point that these people just didn't know what they were doing. So they ended up getting so desperate that they went back to these old scrapped ideas, maybe to save some money, or they just didn't care. Given how it was a bunch of interns running BIONICLE G2, both of these options are very, very likely. And this isn't to shit on those people. Hate the game, not the player. BIONICLE G2 came out around the time that LEGO was popping off a bit as a brand. The LEGO movie really gave them a huge boost. So much so that they became the #1 toy brand. I believe that they are to this day. So again, to compare this to BIONICLE Gen 1, when they made that theme, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. The two themes that saved LEGO was LEGO Star Wars, the launch of LEGO Star Wars. But because it wasn't their own IP, they were not making as much money as they could have off that. BIONICLE being an IP that they created, LAT helped them get out of LAT. So they put their asses into gear. This is the polar opposite situation. They're at the top of their game, arguably, at this point, where they think that anything they could have done would just succeed. So this was a product of LAT. So again, this isn't to directly shit on anyone specifically. I think this was just a result of how the company was being run at this point, where their confidence blinded them from making a successful theme. I know this video is a bit of a downer, so I'm going to try to sugarcoat this last part here. I actually do think a lot of the prototypes that were shown here under the Egypt stuff are a lot better than the G2 sets, at least the 2016 one specifically, along with some of the Skull ones. I'd really like to see someone try to create their own versions of them. These ones don't have as many kit-bashed materials. A lot of them actually seem to be just straight up 3D printed, which is interesting. This version of Skull Scorpio looks a lot better, but overall, it's generally just a really, really fun time to go through all of these files. So if you're looking for a treat as a BIONICLE fan, Hero Factory fan, or even a G2 fan, I highly suggest asking around some community servers to see if anyone has access to it. Like I said earlier, the All BIONICLE Reject server has a lot of images relating to the leaks, so I'm not sure if these G2 related ones are in that server already, but if they're not, then you can find the link to the file yourself and, go from there. I have downloaded this entire file, along with many other people, so none of these images or documents or anything are going anywhere. And again, I know BIONICLE isn't exactly popular at the moment, but I'm really surprised that no one's really gone over the stuff within the Egypt folder. A lot of the art looks actually quite good, and I'd say this arguably looks a lot better than what Shima did. It definitely kind of comes across as like that late 2000s experimental LEGO theme. I doubt this theme, if they ended up actually doing this theme instead of BIONICLE, that it probably only would have lasted for about 2 or 3 years. Just because at this point in the mid-2010s is when IPs started to dominate LEGO a bit more, versus original themes such as BIONICLE. And I'll throw this in here last minute as a bit of a shout out, but if you don't want to download any mysterious files or go on any suspicious file sharing websites, there are some YouTube accounts that are sharing stuff that's from the drive, specifically when it comes to videos. BIONICLE Found Footage Archive is one of them. So if you want to have a taster of what's potentially on there, but you don't want to find them yourself, then that's an easy way of accessing most of it. But if you made it this far, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.